Hello everyone, I am Nghi, and today I'll be presenting the insights from chapter 3 of the sensory marketing textbook, which will be focusing on the role of visions in consumer perception and behavior. Visions is not just about our eyes seeing, it's a very powerful tool that marketers can use to shape how we feel, how we think, and how do we respond to the brand. So let's just dive in right now. So the first thing I want to address is the importance of visions and why does it matter. So visions is considered our most dominant sense. So in fact, nearly 70% of all sensory information our brain receives comes from our eyes. So this makes vision a very critical channel for brands to communicate with consumers. So visual cues like color, shape, and design doesn't just grab our attention. They influence how we interpret products, how we feel about brands, and ultimately what we choose to purchase. A great example of visual cues is the art of Japanese packaging design. So in Japan, even the most ordinary items like fruits or sweets are packaged with an extreme care and elegance. So this visual attention signals quality, respect, and intention. So a beautifully wrapped item creates a sense of anticipation, alleviates the perceived value, and leaves a very memorable impression. So it's not just about the product inside; it's about the visual experience that leads up to it. So I've always been fascinated by the art of Japanese packaging, and recently I've also been fascinated by the rebranding campaign of Vinamilk, where they completely changed the branding, the visual, and the logo, everything inside out, and makes a very youthful and very colorful and very like vibrant image of Vinamilk, something that is very new and very eye catching. So the next things is about the science of how vision works. So our eyes are biologically equipped for very complex perception, containing two thirds of all sensory receptors in the body. So according to a theory called Gestalt, um, we perceive the whole forms when even when the parts are missing. So this means that our brain fills in the gaps. So for a very simple example, think of the Worldwide Fund banded logo on the right side of the slide. It's made of only black shapes on a white background. There are no specific outlines or full details of the banda. It isn't a very realistic picture of a banda, yet our brain miraculously and immediately recognize it as a banda. So that's the Gestalt theory. We mentally complete the picture from just partial information. Visions also doesn't work in isolation. It collaborates with other senses like touch and sound to help us form more complete and accurate impression of what we're seeing, what we are experiencing. And that is the core of the Gestalt theory. Also on the image on the left, this analyze that our brains functions the image in the sensory input in different parts of the brain. They work comprehensively with each other to create a whole image, to create a very comprehensive and complete image. Another point is the cognitive and emotional reaction of the relating to visions. So vision influence not just how we see things, but how we think and feel. So research shows that visually oriented ads are more memorable and more effective than text-heavy ones. So there's the comparison on the right, where you can see a very creative and very colorful, very vibrant ad of a cereal brand. And in contrast to that, it is a very dry and very bland and very not so creative ad, and not so colorful, not so visually appealing ad. And the ad that almost catch our attention is always on the right, on the left, right, something that is carefully created with visuals. So Emotional visuals like joyful scenes or heartwarming images can trigger very strong feelings that consumer that can then associate with the brand. So when we see the ad on the left, we associate this very positive energy with the brand. A good mood can also make people more open, creative, and likely to remember ads in a favorable light. So you're more likely to remember the left ad rather than the right and the ad on the right side, right? Um, and the next thing is the influence of culture and perception. So seeing can be influenced through a cultural lens. Visual perception is very subjective. People from different cultures or even genders and even personal experience can affect how people perceive the same image differently. For instance, Southeast Asians like us Vietnamese tend to see the relationship between objects in their background, while Westerners focus on individual objects. So, in a more specific example is color. Color can also have very different meanings in different cultures. So, the color red is the symbol of luck in China, but they can mean danger in Western countries. Like the danger signs are usually painted in red. So, understanding these differences is very essential in global marketing. When we want to expand our business to other countries, we have to understand the culture and the way they perceive visuals. Just like the saying, "Do as the Rome, do as the Roman." I don't really remember the saying, but it's the same thing like uh, so the next element is the designing the visual space for service environment. So I want to address the SOR model. This model we learned in chapter one or two before. They say this model states that stimuli can shape emotional and our behavioral responses to, and they explain how different stimuli can affect customers' feelings and actions. So, design features like layout, color, and lighting influence whether people feel relaxed or stressed or welcome or rushed. Even other customers and the behavior of the service staffs play a very important role. A thoughtfully designed space can make people stay longer and feel better about their experience. So in service marketing, the atmosphere is the play of a place is the key point to focus on. Um, so in this element, we can see that the design's layout, the design of the spatial area in big store, big brand names like IKEA and Apple is very curated. From the lighting, the color, and the layout is very carefully curated through designers and architectures. Um, the next part is about the visual identities of brands. So, strong brands rely heavily on visual identity. Think of Apple. They have a very sleek logo, or Coca-Cola's. They have a very red, like strong red and white packaging in very strong contrast. They are instantly recognizable. So these visuals are not random. They are carefully chosen to communicate personality, values, and quality. So maintaining the visual consistency across all touchpoints helps build consumer trust and loyalty. So I have on the right side, I have the image of um, mm, I think the Vinamilk's consistent branding, but they have some errors right now, so the slides cannot load the image. But I want to say that Vinamilk had done a really good job in maintaining a very consistent visual branding across all of it, packaging, events, and even in their internal offices. They use these branding to be consistent throughout, inside and outside too. So another point is the visual advertising techniques, using ads, using emotions. So advertisement work best when they can connect with our emotions. So colors play a very huge role in this. Blue might signal trust and calmness or sadness, while red or brighter colors can grab our attention and stir passion. So brands must match colors with product types. For example, blue is great for technology or finance, while red works really well for food or fashion. So choosing the right visual tone can help ads resonate more deeply. So in this slide, I have two example of two movie scenes. They are not particularly acts, but they are movie scene, and movies are a really great example of using color. They have color grading. They have a specific color schemes when they want to portray a specific emotion. They use specific colors. Like on the left, the main character is deepened with sadness, so they use mostly blue and like colder color, while on the right side, the atmosphere is more uplifted. They create like a sense of curiosity, so they use brighter colors and they spark our attention to focus on the scene. Um, mm, and so that is the end of the chapter 3. And I want to sum up about this chapter about visions. So, visions isn't just about aesthetics, it can influence our emotions, our cognition, what do we think, and our action, how do we behave. So, whether it's the layout of a store, or the color of the packaging, or the imagery in an ad, every visual element must be intentionally crafted to resonate with the target audience and communicate the brand's essence or the brand's personality. Um, so, yeah, our visions can affect our perception, our emotion, and lastly, our action, which can influence the purchase behavior, purchase decisions. And next, I want to talk about chapter 4. Um, in chapter 4, we'll be focusing on how sound plays a very crucial role in shaping consumer perception, emotional engagement, and brand experience. We'll look at the theoretical concepts and practical application of sound in marketing. While in chapter 3, we discover visions, and now we are discovering about sound. What do we hear? So, firstly, I will also want to address the importance of sound in sensory marketing. So, sound is not just the background of a space, it's a very strategic tool. According to multisensory marketing theory, each of these contributes to the total brand experience, and sound often plays a very central emotional role. It can shape brand identity, impact, recall, and drive consumer action. So because sounds very important, so a very prominent example to understand the sound's importance is by looking at the global music industry. So we all listen to music every day. I think so. The global music industry generate over $26 billion revenue in 2022, and that is not just entertainment. It's a sign of how deeply sound is woven into our daily life. So emotions, routines, and behavior also. Brands can tap into this emotional power by integrating sound meaningfully into their customer touch points. Um, So the next thing is about the science of hearing and how do we process the sound. So our perception of sound is both physiological and psychological. So our eardrums responses to the bright vibrations from the outside environment, and the brain, especially the right hemisphere, the red one, they processes the melodies, making jingles and slogan very easy to recall. So unlike visions, sounds can penetrate us emotionally, creating subconscious responses. And from that point, I also want to address about music. First, this slides will introduce how music influence our emotions. So first, the first theory that I want to address is the contour theory. This explains that humans naturally associate certain sounds with feelings. Like fast and high pitched music often feels energetic, feels joyful. In contrast, slow and low pitched music can feel calm or sad. For example, lullabies universally use slow tempos and soft pitches to soothe infants, soothe babies. This works across culture. Every baby grow up hearing the lullabies from their mothers, from their grandmothers, and this lullabies is often very slow, low pitch to soothe, to relax the baby. And another theory is the convention theory, on the other hand, argues that the emotional association with music are learned through cultural context. So, like a minor key might signal sadness in Western music, but may not carry the same meaning in other cultures. For example, mm, um, like I think of the bagpipes, and they can evoke pride or mourning, depending on whether you're in Scotland or in somewhere else. And this depends on the cultural context. Um, an example of this in Vietnam is the ad by Điện Máy Xanh that was very viral. In I think 5 or 6 years ago, they created very memorable melodies, very memorable jingle. Bạn muốn mua TV đến Điện Máy Xanh. We all really like engrave that sound, that music in our brain. And when we think of wanting to buy TVs or wanting to buy AC, we think of Điện Máy Xanh, and Điện Máy Xanh has done really good job in using music to have an emotional influence on our cognitions. So another point from that is the culture, identity, and sound symbolism. So music is deeply cultural. Whether young people may prefer rap or EDM or more modern music, classical music is, on the other hand, is linked to higher social classes. So research even shows that even brand names can, with certain sounds, can create different perception. This is also known as sound symbolism, where phonetics feature might convey meaning. So we can see this in you we can this is used in brandings, like names like Google or Moo feel soft and playful, where brands like Kit Kat or Tic Tac feel crisp and sharp. It's not accidental. These phonetic cues like subtly guide how we feel about a certain brand, a certain product, even before seeing or using it. We have a different perception through the name towards the name Google, and a different perception through the with the name Kit Kat, right? So another point I want to address is the auditory impact on the shopping experience of consumer. So studies show that slow tempo music often slow down the customer flow, increases the time spent in stores, and even to boost sales too. Another study also very shows a very interesting findings is that classical music in particular makes shoppers choose premium products. Like when we hear classical music too much, we might have an intention and inclination to buy premium product, expensive products. And music also changes how long we think we have been in the store, even when we don't like consciously notice. And so another example I want to do to close this chapter with the case study of Disney. I think this is a very interesting case study about sound as the brand DNA. Let's take Disney as a very powerful case of sound being parts of the brain, how people remember the brain. So think about the short chime that plays with the Disney logo when we first watch a movie from Disney. Just a few notes can instantly trigger emotions, memories, childhood nostalgia, and the expectation of magic. So I will play a short. I So this is intentional of Disney. Disney had integrated sound cues across all touch points. From theme parks, they also use this in background music to guide emotions. They use this intro to in films. And they use even original soundtracks to anchor key emotional beats. And even the toys and merchandise often include very recognizable jingles or character voices that can evoke memories and childhood nostalgia. So this unified sound identity of Disney create a very consistency of emotional connection. So this reinforces Disney brands as a magical, joyful, and timeless. They are not using any words or images. They deeply engrave the audience with a very unique sound and unique intro music. Um, so that's how deeply sound can influence the brand's perception. So I want to wrap this chapter up with a few key takeaways. So to conclude, sounds is a very powerful sensory stimulus that can shape how consumers feel, think, and act. We need to have strategic use of sound through music or voice or jingles or product sounds. This can build a very strong and emotionally resonant brand. So the goal is to make sound an intentional and integrated part of the customer journey. And that is also the end of my presentation on chapter 3 and chapter 4. I hope you have, I thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great time listening.